guys, and welcome to Duralex Sedlex. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Anna.
And today we have a few special guests. They're the Rule of Law team, second year students from the LLB program at the University of Groningen, which are very famous for organizing the Rule of Law Festival. They're gonna share their experience about organizing the event, their motivations for doing so, their personal stories about meeting their idols that protect the rule of law in Poland, and many other topics. And also at the end, they're gonna tell you how you can get involved in this event that they're organizing on the 24th of June. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you want a more in-depth understanding of what we're going to talk about today and about the rule of law violations in Poland in general, make sure to give our second episode with Dr. John Moraine and listen before we start, so you can better understand what we're talking about, what they aim to protect, and what they achieved through organizing this festival. So yeah, enjoy! Okay, hi guys, thank you for being our guests. We're very pleased to have you here. And yeah, we're gonna get started with the questions. This is the Rule of Law team, and they're organizing a festival in June, so make sure to tune in and listen to their stories.
Hi guys.
Hello.
So could everyone please introduce oneself, and also then one of you just talk about the Rule of Law Festival quickly, or if more than you want to talk as well, then go for it. Yeah, just explain what it is and what your aim is with the Rule of Law Festival.
Okay, so I'm Susanna.
My name is Tekla.
Hi, I'm Elen.
And my name is Anna. We are 4 LLB students who founded initiative Our Rule of Law. Back in September, we organized Our Rule of Law Festival, which aimed to highlight the rule of law violations in Poland. There was a great event which gathered plenty of very important guests from Poland, including judges, journalists, academics, and sparked the discussion among students why they should care about the rule of law situation in Poland and what they should do. And now we are back with another event, which is super exciting. We are organizing conversation on the law and politics of protecting liberal democracy. And even gonna take place on June 24 here at the University of Groningen. To give you some more background, we're working with Professor John Moraine, who is a teacher in the third year LLB course. And he's organizing his inauguration lecture, also on the 24th of June. And we, as a team, are hosting a pre-event, which is going to gather very prominent guests, prominent scholars, judges, politicians, members of the European Parliament. In short, it's going to be very cool, and we're going to tell you some more details later on.
Perfect, thank you so much. If you could please tell us, how did you come up with the idea of organizing this festival? Did your program play a role into this? Because I know all 4 of you are doing the LLB. Or do you have any personal connections to the matter of the rule of law violations in Poland? And if so, could you develop more on that?
The spark that started this whole project was in February, I think, 2021, when John Moraine, the professor we've been working with, held a lecture in a student association. And we were present there, and we started our studies during COVID. Haven't met any of these 3 girls before then, but I could see some names on the screen at this lecture, and I could hear that, actually, this Anna was asking some really good questions. And Professor John Moraine inspired me to feel like, hey, there's something important here. Like, this matters to us as students of European law. Like, we should care a lot about this. And so it just happened that a couple of days later, I had taken the initiative to organize walks with a stranger, exactly to connect, especially first-year students, but also other students at the university here in the law faculty, who didn't have a lot of chance to meet because it was all online teaching. So we had this walks with a stranger, and I had seen that Anna had signed up. So I was like, hey, Anna, I saw you at this lecture, and I think you asked some really nice questions, and you're from Poland, and I would love to hear some more about this crisis in Poland. Do you want to walk with me on Sunday? And she was like, yeah, sure. And then we went walking together and talked in the Nordplan soon, and just so happened we bumped into Susa and Elen. And Anna and Susa knew each other because, Polish connections. And then we all four started talking and agreed to meet then the week after and continue thinking about, hey, do we have a role, and like what could we do and what would we want? Which kind of learning experience do we want to create for ourselves and for our co-students? And it turned into an idea of a festival. I think it maybe started as like a week. Oh, we'll do this whole rule of law week. And then we emailed Professor John Ryan. He was like, yeah, this sounds great. Maybe shorten it down. Let's just focus on 2 days and then we started from there, trying to figure out how we could engage students here at the university in the rule of law crisis in Poland, and also create an opportunity for all of us to, connect with each other and build community and get to know one another by doing something that's meaningful outside of school, but still, with academic ties.
That's a really nice story, and it kind of answers my next question of how you guys kind of met and if you guys knew each other before. So I think we'll just skip to the next question for Alyssa.
Yeah, I mean, if you could also maybe tell us more about how you bonded over organizing this and how you maybe learned from each other, anything, just like your experience as a group, and then we can delve into the details of organizational stuff and academic or, activist stuff.
That's a good plan.
So I don't know if you know that, but before our Rule of Law festival, I have to say that I'm not really a teamwork person. Yeah. So it was definitely a learning opportunity for me to come together in this like very close environment with people that, Ellen and Tekla, we haven't really know each other before COVID. We've just met on the Walk with the Stranger. I've met Ellen and they met each other, and then we kind of bumped into each other, and then we kind of started working on something that turned out to be pretty much a big thing over there, a whole 2-day festival at our university, full of events, some of them happening at the same time. It was really a logistics operation to come through, and it actually did require quite a lot of teamwork, as you may know already. And it was definitely a huge learning opportunity for me to know how to cooperate with people and how to execute such a project together with some of people while still not killing each other within the process, which was kind of a struggle at times. But that was definitely something what I've learned, and I think that I also managed to grow through that experience, and now I'm also cooperating with Amnesty. So it definitely gave me a lot of knowledge on how to cooperate with other people, communicate effectively, and be able to go about such things efficiently.
Thank you so much for
That's
answering.
also super nice, because me and Alyssa also experience kind of the same things. Like, we both also have this, because if we do the podcast, obviously, I think I mentioned yesterday on the call, because she's mostly in Amsterdam all the time and I'm in Groningen, so we kind of have to cooperate a lot, and it's like, when can you come up, or when can we do this, and schedule interviews and stuff. So it is definitely a learning opportunity, and I feel what you say.
Yeah, I also want to say that I feel like there's so many cool people within our program that it's people let's go together and do something, because there's really plenty of room for opportunity, and I think that also helped us to become closer friends. We obviously go out, experience new stuff, and have a lot of fun besides organizing all of this. So I would also encourage everyone, if you have any idea, find the people who also find it interesting and just do something.
Thank you for your answers, guys. And now we're moving on to our fourth question, going on a bit more theoretical tangent of the interview. If you could please elaborate on the aim of the festival and the importance of the rule of law in our society in general.
Sure. So the aim of the festival back in September was pretty clear. It was threefold. One, we wanted to create a learning opportunity for students to actually get to understand in depth what is happening in Poland, why is it happening, what are the kind of dynamics that drive this democratic backsliding, and how does it affect the people who work on the ground. So that was a learning experience we wanted to create for our co-students and ourselves, of course. Secondly, we wanted to build community, so give an opportunity for students, particularly law and IR students at the university, to engage with each other and connect and make new friends. And then thirdly, we wanted to show solidarity with people on the ground who are fighting for rule of law in Poland. So that meant that we collected money, fundraised money during the festival. So all the proceedings from tickets, for example, went to Oka Press, which is a free media or an independent media outlet in Poland. It also meant doing work with Amnesty International during the festival of making people write supportive cards to judges who get suspended from their jobs, or their wages get cut, or they get moved to a less important court in the middle of the country where they don't have influence. So, supporting people who are really feeling right now the repercussions. Of course, Polish citizens and EU citizens by extension will feel the repercussions of a dependent judiciary eventually. I guess right now it's especially the judges who were, attacked, you can say, by some of these measures that have been recently adopted, in the past 7 years in Poland.
For me personally, one of the goals through the festival was, because I'm from Georgia, so then obviously we're not a European country, but it's kind of an ideal that we strive towards. So seeing the rule of law crisis in Poland and how a European country is able to go against these foundational European principles, it made me personally want to fight for that, because if it falls within the EU, there's absolutely no chance for Georgia. So it was kind of selfish motivations. But yeah, obviously for Polish people, it's a lot more personal. So I think Anna or Zuza.
Do you guys, I know you came here in 2020, so I mean the Polish girls. All of you, but especially you guys, because you're from Poland. Polish ladies.
Yeah.
So did you have any, I don't know when this started exactly, I'm not very experienced on the subject, maybe Anna knows more, but obviously you know the most. So how are things back home? Is this a thing that citizens act on, or is it a thing only that people talk about? Are they actually doing stuff, just maybe,
or can they actually do stuff?
yeah. How's the atmosphere at home? That's what I was trying to say more.
I think the time where this crisis began is around 2015, when the PiS party, Law and Justice in English, came to power and gathered a majority in the parliament, which means that whichever law they want to pass, they pass. And of course, in this situation, it cannot be that Parliament just pass whichever law they want, right? So you have the courts that monitor it, or other branches to do that. But that's not the case in Poland, right? Because the PiS party was okay, so we're gonna, for example, do constitutional court in our way, so they cannot say that our laws are unconstitutional. So basically what they did from the very beginning is to capture the very high bodies, like the Constitutional Court, Supreme Court, the National Judiciary Council, to push for their agenda and to let's say put their representatives there. It's quite a long time since it's going on. I would say obviously citizens are taking things in their hands, but we shouldn't forget that the whole concept of judiciary and law is very complicated for most of people. And most of the people don't really understand what is going on. And I still remember back some years ago, going to the protests about judiciary, demanding veto from the president on the laws, which, it's a bit hard to demand when the president is exactly from the same party and is just an extension of it. But I think a very nice illustration of it is, nice, not necessarily nice, the ban on the limitation on the abortion rights and how the citizens act there. Maybe Zuza, do you want to say more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree with what Anna is saying. And while it sort of started in 2015, it's been unfolding on and on for many years. And we still have to remember that, there's this whole democratic backsliding, but judiciary and rule of law are only, let's say, a part of the problem, part of the matrix that kind of amplifies every other problem that we have. So anything else related to lawmaking, legislation, fundamental human rights, that is amplified by the rule of law crisis that is happening in Poland. And I agree with Anna. Understanding the whole judicial system of Poland, the human rights, the interplay of that, the European international law, it's very, very difficult. And it's very difficult for people to engage with that in an educated manner, that you can actually make an impact and know how to make that impact. I see a lot of engagement in different areas that they are still very much connected to human rights and the rule of law crisis in Poland. So as Anna said, the abortion crisis and the restriction to abortion rights of women, we have seen numerous protests on that issues that were happening on and off for the last, let's say, 6 years. And we have seen like a huge engagement from the part of the civil society on that issue and the issue of abortion rights. And I would really love to give you some sort of an optimistic accent in that. But what I can say is that we're still fighting for that, and we hope that it's actually gonna have an impact.
I want to say about the abortion crisis. I think you can really see how much the Polish society cares. I think there was 2020, if I'm not mistaken, when the Polish Constitutional Court basically restricted abortion and said we already had quite restricted law back then, and they were like, no, we're going to put more restrictions on it. And this obviously happened because back in 2015 the Law and Justice Party decided to put their own judges into Constitutional Court. So you can see really this correlation of capturing of the judiciary and the impact it can have on the citizens. And I think it really hit close to home for many people when quite a sad news hit the media about the woman who was denied abortion because of the health reason, and she died, leaving her young daughter and a husband. And you can see very massive protests going on in the cities, in every city. Like, it was going on for days. Even in, like, you know, Zuzia and I are not from very big cities. You can see there like a very huge engagement, even outside of Poland. Even here in Groningen, we had a protest about it. So, you know, like, I think people need to start seeing that those huge judiciary changes really can have an impact on your life. And I think people do start seeing it.
That's very true. So going to the next question, it's not very easy to organize a festival, obviously. So we were just wondering, especially like for students, how did you guys go about this? Like, where did you start? What was the first kind of step that you took? Obviously preparations that you did probably a long time ago, like we said earlier. But yeah, could you please describe in detail like what the steps were?
I can give it a shot. What I think the
Go
steps
for
were.
it.
First, I think there's an important part of having a sense of really understanding something and then identifying a possible solution or a way to go about it. So for us it was, well, I'm sure Zuzia and Anna knew that this was a big issue, but for me, I grew up in Denmark. I came here to study. I wanted to learn something about Europe and outside of Denmark, and I realized, there's this huge judicial crisis going on. Like, I need to understand what's going on. And I could clearly see that this professor, John Moraine, he knew what was happening. He had clear ideas of where the problems lie and what we might want to do about it. And I think, so I had a sense of like, okay, that we could do something and it would be important to engage students.
Sorry to interrupt you. How did you meet John Moraine? Did you have class with him?
It was just this one lecture he held at NGIC. So it was just voluntary, a Tuesday evening where students could join. It was online. No one had their cameras on, of course. Classic situation. We all know it. And then the second thing, after that feeling of like, hey, there's something important here and we could maybe do something, was reaching out and finding people who also cared about it. So reaching out and realizing that, hey, Anna, Ellen, and Zuzia would also be really interested. Like, they also think this is important. And like, hey, we can do something together. That's the second. And then third was, form a plan. What is it we want to happen? Like, do we want to have every Tuesday some kind of small study group? Do we want to do a festival? Do we want to make a banner we can hang somewhere? Like, what are we trying to do, right? So make a plan. And then fourthly, explain that plan and why you think it's important to people who might be interested in helping you and also think that topic is important. So John Moraine was, right away he was supportive and saw potential in what we wanted to do. So that helped a lot. And then we were, a team of 5 working together to find guests. And, John knew a lot of people because he's been working with this for many years.
So who came up with the idea of the festival per se? You guys did or him?
That was us, for sure. We wrote him a whole email. After the night on the festival, I came home at 3 at something in the night after this party and drinking with all these judges and whatever. Came home and I was like, whoa, what just happened? And I opened my email and I looked back to this email that was then beginning of March probably, 6 months before. And I was like, we already back then, before we reached out, had a pretty clear idea of what we wanted to do. It was really crazy, like after that whole really intense period, and then after the event, and like, you know, there was connection. It didn't come out of anywhere. We had an idea, and John Moraine could support that, and we could all together make it happen.
I love that. I really love that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
That must have been so satisfying to be like, wow, I really saw that coming, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But in a
also
good
after
way.
you had the festival, must have been like so satisfying. Being
Yeah.
like, yeah, we just did that. We just had like, wow.
Yeah, it was definitely surreal after the festival. But just going back to Tekla's steps, she makes it sound a lot easier than it was. There was a lot of brainstorming, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, a lot of thrown out ideas. But I mean, it's obviously made so much easier when you find people that you're willing to work with, and having a professor that helps you, and obviously an issue that you can be so passionate about.
Thank you for explaining the process. Maybe you're gonna give some of our listeners some ideas. Maybe they can also start a really cool project like yours. I also wanted to ask you guys, how helpful were the people you are relying on to organize this, and what was their attitude like? Like, obviously you mentioned John Moraine, professor and lecturer at our university. He was really helpful with you. I was more wondering about people from the university. I don't know, like, did you rely on funds maybe from them? And also the guests and the people you invited, because you had to fly people from Poland, right? Like, that must have been, you know, like, you really have to be aboard on an idea like this to, you know, put in this much effort. And like, were people excited? Did you have to maybe convince them more?
Yeah. I think if we build on these previous steps, and this is a very important step, maybe then a fifth step is engaging more widely, right? So, as you say, guests. Why would Judge Igor Tuleya, who's like a symbol, he's a pop symbol at this point in Poland and beyond, why would he want to come here to spend a Friday and a Saturday? But he did, because he thought that it's important, that young people actually are important, and he was willing to support. And there were so many people who did that. You know, they didn't get any money. We could get funds from the university, who were very supportive, and several departments of the law faculty actually funded the whole project. You know, so we had funds, we could get people here, but you couldn't pay anyone, of course. So all these people, you know, journalists and lawyers who work full time to try to fight for rule of law in Poland. The Wolny Sąd organization, we had two of the founders who joined here. And they did it because they really care. And then, of course, it's also really important the support we got, or the cooperation we had with student associations here in Groningen. For example, NJIC and ELSA and Nexus and Amnesty International were also really important. We cooperated about how can we implement an element of activism into our event and help people actually take action already at the festival, not only after. So it was a huge team exercise in getting people together who have a real stake in this real complex issue in the world, and then pooling our efforts and trying to make something good out of it.
Yeah, so we can assume the response was positive.
Very positive. There was support all the way around, and you know, journalists from Amnesty that we, you know, through connections would help us figure out how to media prep, because eventually then big national media outlets in the Netherlands, in Denmark, and across borders were interested in this event and wanted to interview us. Elen was in the national morning news on the day of the festival, and they wanted to interview the judges while they were in the Netherlands. So, you know, suddenly it took a whole new weight. It came to the event, and people were there to support us to kind of go through that. It was really cool.
That is really cool.
Getting to work with a
that's
lot of
so
very
cool.
capable people. Yeah.
I'm fangirling now.
Yeah,
like,
same. I'm here like, wow, we're having these cool people on the podcast. Jesus.
You were on the news. That must have been crazy.
Yeah, I was on the national radio. It was really cool, and obviously that came through our initiative, but also, well, they wanted to talk to us because of what we were organizing, and it also came through John Moraine's connections. Waking up at 6 a.m. was definitely worth my 2 minutes in the spotlight. But no, it just shows that like more people do want to hear about it, and there is a need for it, and there's a market for it, and like if you do something, people will listen, people will care. So that's kind of something to stick with.
So
And-
only you went. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, because I speak Dutch, so I was on the national news. But then Anna and Zuza did a podcast with Ada Bondar in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've seen international interest in our events. So that was really cool to see.
That's really amazing. That's really cool.
So, and you went to Amsterdam for it, like or did you have to travel? You were here?
I was called in. There's like this
Oh.
program that they do, and then
Maybe we can try that.
yeah, it was all very
Do you speak
technical.
Dutch? 'Cause I don't.
No, like the program,
Oh,
not
I
not
see.
the.
I thought you meant the interview. I was
No,
like,
no. I would like to speak Dutch, but no. Like, you have my respect for that. Okay, thank you. So you didn't pay for the people to come here. You didn't pay them, like not even the plane ticket, or
We paid for all their expenses. So
Okay.
we got their plane tickets and hotel stay and dinner here,
okay.
which was money we got through
University.
actually several actors. So the university, but also Nexus contributed money. So yeah, so we paid for them to be here.
Okay, but you didn't pay for them to
I didn't
give lectures.
Exactly.
Okay,
no. They were here just as much on their own will and connecting with other people working from within their country, but also Dutch journalists and judges who were here.
Yeah, I think that must have been really cool for you guys, like especially for you who are from Poland, because you get to see your national heroes, coming to your event that you organized. Like that must have been a really proud moment for you guys. If you maybe want to, share your experience on this.
No, it most definitely was. And the most surprising, I would call it this way, thing for me was, first of all, those people came. We invited them and they decided to come, which is already like, groundbreaking for me at that time. Because, you're studying about the law and you're getting to know all these amazing people and you're kind of glorifying them in a way and idolizing them. You're like, oh my God, he's so cool, And when they actually came and we managed to talk together and actually interact, I managed to listen to some of the most amazing lectures that I could have imagined. Then you kind of realize that, oh yeah, they are actually like, people like us. They're normal people. They're also like very involved in the rule of law and they truly believe in what they're doing. So seeing that and seeing an actual face behind the rule of law crisis, that was great to see. And yeah, sorry, Tekla distracted me for a second.
Yeah, but
So
I think it's
there is one personal story. There is one
Yes,
personal story
you're
behind that. A few personal stories, but maybe some that I can actually disclose in the podcast.
We can always turn the recording off. Like.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that like besides learning from them, like huge amount of like knowledge on law and like values and principles, all of that. I'll tell you my two favorite moments. The first one, yeah, I'm walking from the Harmony Square inside the Harmony. I turn my head and there's Zuza and some of our volunteers having a cigarette with Igor Tuleya. And I was like, what is happening? Why there? And like, I know for like many people, like if I just say Igor Tuleya is like nothing, but like Tekla said, he's a really like, he's at this point like a pop culture moment. Like my grandma know who he is. He is on the TV like every day. If you are Polish, you just know who's Igor Tuleya. And I'm like, they're just casually having a cigarette with Igor Tuleya, one of the most popular judges and super prominent figure in like Polish rule of law scene and everything. And I was like, okay, wow. Yeah, so and the second moment was we did a closing party and there was like I was involved in that situation. I was like we're Polish, we drink vodka. That's not a secret. We even brought vodka from Poland for the Our Rule of Law festival
In some serious quantities.
in some serious quantities. And there was me buying shots for Judge Dariusz Mazur, who is a judge in one of the Krakow courts, and also the member of the Temis Judges Association. And I was just like having shots with him. I was like, great, that's the best moment of my life. And that was like, you can really see those people are just people like you, and you can have a cigarette with them, you can take a shot with them, but at the same time, like
you can fight for the rule of law with them as well.
Like I was telling him like how like impressive it is and how impressive it is for me that he still has like this power and a spark to fight for those values and still show up to this court, who is like, I think the person who is like the president of his court is also appointed by Law and Justice Party, who's creating absolute hell for judges. I think there is a story that they, on last Christmas, they put like a Christmas tree and they put some like ornaments of like EU flags or LGBT flag and all of that, and then it was forbidden to have this Christmas tree anymore. So it's a really huge story in this court. So he's a very inspiring figure, and yeah, it was just great to hear from them.
That's such a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Especially with the shot. I love that.
Yeah, I paid for that. I was like, wow. It's on me.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, yeah, like how did last edition go? Like, what kind of feedback did you get? Obviously, like from what you're telling us now, like it sounds really cool, and we're really excited for the next one now.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I'm sold.
yeah, same.
I'm going. I want to take shots with the judges.
Yeah, same.
Well, yeah, what can I say? The feedback was overall very positive. I think it was what we were saying at the beginning, like this component of community building, that you can actually go and experience something with the people from your study. I think made a huge impact on everyone. And I think this also gave us a motivation to do our next event. And this time we don't have any COVID restrictions on us, which is a great, I wouldn't necessarily say improvement, but a nice step, because we can also host more people in our next event. There's like less restrictions on signing up and everything, so we have really plenty of space for everyone to come and experience that again with us.
Could you kind of tell us what kind of guests will be attending this time, and like what is going to be different, what's going to be the same, and what we can be kind of expecting, or what we can get excited for?
So yeah, this time we have a lot of really cool guests as well, like high academics, judges, politicians. One of them, for example, is Laurent Peck, who's the director of the law faculty in Middlesex University. You might also know him from blogs on Verfassungsblog. He writes all the time. Marta Pardavi, who is the co-chair of the Hungarian Helsinki Committee. Adam Bodnar, who is also a massive Polish figure and who was the human rights ombudsman in Poland before he was removed. Then Radosweta Vasileva, who's a legal scholar and a social advocate. Wojciech Sadurski, who is John Morain's mentor in a way, but he's also one of the greatest academic scholars, and he also works in an Australian university. And Sophie Nitveld is a European Parliament member who works on this issue. And then we have a couple judges like Tamara Trotman, who is a judge in The Hague, and she's also the president for Judges for Judges in the Netherlands. So those are some of the guests. If you want to find out more, you should check our Instagram. They'll be released on there, and we'll kind of go a bit more in depth on who they are.
And will they be essentially just holding guest lectures, or are you planning also like other kinds of types of events, like maybe more interactive stuff, or like what kinds of events should people who haven't heard from this or who haven't but haven't never been to one of your festivals expect from this year?
In the conversations on the law and politics of protecting liberal democracy, we are having a series of panels. So we're putting all these prominent guests from different fields, judges, politicians, academics, as Ellen just mentioned. We're putting them together in conversations about topics that we think are interesting or important. So we want to know, what's the role of women in the front lines of protecting liberal democracy? What's the role of solidarity between judges and across borders? And how does this crisis affect people personally? Like, how does it affect a guy like Adam Bodnar to be, kicked out of his ombudsman office? And how does it affect him personally, those work he's doing? Or Marta Pardavi, who's, the co-chair of the Helsinki Committee. Like, she must experience so much pressure in the work she does because she's in a climate where, a big part of the political landscape is just fighting against things that she thinks is so important. So, there are real people behind the work they're doing, and we want to get to know, what is it like? What does it mean? And also, of course, get a sense of what is our role as young people? Like, do we have a particular potential to act? Do we have a duty? Like, what can we do and how can we get engaged and understand what's going on? And also, how would this affect our future when we graduate as law graduates in European international, like, will we even have jobs? Can we work with our degree, or is it just like is there no trust?
Is it just academia forever?
Right, yeah.
We also, in our Rule of Law Festival, we want to give as much space to students as we can. So when you go to our sign-up form, there's also a special line for everyone to say what they would like to hear from our great guests. So you can find the sign-up form if you go on our Instagram, which is our Rule of Law. There in our bio, you can find all the links to our website, to our sign-up form, and everything is there. So we really want to hear your input. Like, we like to say it's by students for students, hashtag. So we really want to, we want to make it our event for students, and that's why it's so important that everyone can share what they're interested in.
That's really nice. That sounds really cool. Will you kind of publish a timetable of what kind of events are on closer to the time, or?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay,
Full
perfect.
program of times and locations and speakers.
Perfect. Okay, cool. That sounds really good.
Going a bit back to the question that we asked a while ago about the aim of the festival, not necessarily the aim as you envisaged it, but also like the outcomes. Are the outcomes more focused on educating and informing people here, or more focused on bringing about change in Poland, or is it maybe both or neither? But I assume it must be at least one. And maybe you can also explain a bit what kind of feedback and results you got from last year and what you aim to achieve this year.
So we, as our Rule of Law team, we are very much focused on the community building and the community aspects of our work and our events. So we're definitely more focused on the education and the actually engaging the students that we can reach. Engaging the students, but not only the students actually. Those are also professional students, not only from law, but also international relations and basically everyone else that is willing to join us and share that moment with us. So we're definitely very much focused upon the education, engagement, and sharing the experiences between our panelists, participants, and also the students. But I think we shouldn't really forget about the fact that even the smallest changes, so the changes that we can make to someone's mindset and how they actually view the issues in Poland, they can bring about huge results actually in the long term. So we are very much focused on this aspect, but we should not forget that those changes actually do make a difference. And changing someone's mindset, educating people, can bring a huge difference as well. And the fact that we can actually educate the people on the issues we care about and they actually also care about, this is already like our final aim.
I think we could also see that in the festival back in September, that one thing was the students, but another was also you had these judges and you had journalists from independent media and you had academics and you had lawyers who all worked in the field of Poland and were Polish. But when they had this experience of going abroad together and going here to Groningen because young people wanted to see them, I don't think we should underestimate the kind of support that expresses and that they feel from that, and also building community amongst them. It's really important for the people who support a similar course to feel connected. And I think this experience and having all, young people, and particularly in Groningen, we have students from all over the world, and especially all over Europe, that kind of interest and curiosity that we show here is an engagement. It's important. It fuels and supports people who do important work other places, even though we're like, oh, okay, we're students. What does our attention matter?
I think also this question is worth to mention the letter we wrote to Vera Europa, who is the Vice President of the European Commission, back in September. Yeah, that was what I think now about it. It's kind of crazy. But as we mentioned this social impact part of our festival, we were writing letters to the politicians and judges to show solidarity, but we also wrote a letter to Vera Europa, and we basically said, hey, we want more. We want the EU to act, and we think this issue is important, and please do something about it, or do more about it. And we sent it, and we're like, okay, nice, done. And then, out of nowhere, we received a reply from Vera Europa herself, a 2-page letter saying at the beginning, dear our rule of law team, it's very nice that you organize something like this, which acknowledge like that something like our project exists. And well, the rest of the letter was obviously listing the other activities that Commission already did in regards of the rule of law crisis in Poland, of course. But I think it was wow, like, you know, someone actually cares that we did that, and they are taking their time to write to us.
Is she Polish? Because
She's Czech.
okay, yeah. I was just looking her up because I was looking up people while you were talking. I was like,
she's a vice president of the European Commission. I think she particularly focused on the democracy and the rule of law aspect.
yeah, okay. Well, that's a really important outcome, and aside from everything else that you mentioned, and you know, raising awareness in general and educating people in general, building community, everything else that you set your goals to and you also manage to achieve, this is also important. And it goes a bit into a question that we also wanted to ask about people back home who kind of wrote back to you or kind of gave you feedback on it. Like, so were there other people maybe from the Polish politicians that were not necessarily here as guests but gave you any feedback, maybe even declined but said that's a cool idea that you guys had although we can't make it?
I guess we're also not aiming at the politicians that we like disagree with or that we strongly condemn the legislation, right?
Like, you're not gonna
we're
ask
supporting
them.
the people who think this is important and are supportive of rule of law.
Yeah, we were trying to focus on the people that actually are proactive when it comes to rule of law and democracy, not really the opposition politicians. It was not supposed to be a political debate, but more of a actual community building panel, active conversation between students, panelists. So we weren't really focusing on, you can say, another camp, you know?
Yeah, obviously. But like, even from your camp, as to say, if you got any other important messages from home maybe, or from people who matter to you.
I think a great experience was Susanna and I were invited to Adam's Bodnar podcast, which I also can see how that doesn't really like say anything for many people, but I think we were shaking. Like, that was like, you know, again, like, you can see Adam Bodnar in the TV every other day. Like, also, again, my grandma knows who Adam Bodnar is, you know, like, he is a very prominent figure, and he was a ombudsman for human rights in Poland. He also experienced a rule of law crisis himself, and it's very cool because he had his podcast in this very like hip hop station, and now he's doing his podcast about like human rights, law, and we're guests there. We even went to Warsaw for this. We met him. That was insane experience. We also donated money for Oka Press, which we already mentioned is an independent media in Poland. There was also an article about the festival there, which also gathered, like, Oka Press, it is a big media in Poland, you know, like at least 100 likes on Facebook, you know, that's what I'm talking about.
It's one of the biggest independent media, well, let's say newspapers, like online newspapers, so it's a really, really huge issue in Poland. Same as Adam Bodnar, he is one of the greatest faces of human rights in Poland, still is. So it was definitely great that we got invited. We had so many great opportunities, even after the festival.
Okay, and he's not coming this year?
He is.
He is,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he wasn't there last year, unfortunately, due to... only online.
Okay.
But he wasn't able to come in person. But this year we will be welcoming him at the doors of our universities on the 24th of June.
Perfect.
I just want to preface about the podcast that it was such a big deal that me, with my absolute zero Polish, tuned in just so that I could hear them speak, and they did amazing. So if you speak Polish, definitely go listen to it. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the internet. So yeah.
So what did you guys talk about, like your experience with the festival, or just like national affairs, as to say?
Yeah, there was like different subjects around. We talk about our festival, like what motivated us, how did we do it. Also, I think that's a question that everyone is also very interested in. But we also talked about the youth engagement in Poland, how young people should feel more obliged to do something in this rule of law crisis, and how we should actually convince them that this is an important issue and what is there for them to do about it.
So
So like as a final question, kind of to wrap everything up a little bit, we kind of like to ask our guests that come onto the podcast if like other students can kind of get involved, because that's kind of where the idea sort of came from. And we were just kind of wondering if it's possible for students from the LLB or the International Relations faculty to get somehow involved, if you have like some jobs, and if so, like what kind of positions they could do, like voluntary or whatever like that.
The biggest thing that you can do for us, and every student can do for us now, is, well, participate in the event first and primarily. Then just be active on our social media, invite your friends, share our event, talk to your friends, bring your friends, talk to your professors, bring your professor as well, your family, your dog, whatever you want, whoever you want.
I'm gonna bring my dog now. No, I will. My
And
Yeah.
this is
probably be
what's
here.
the most important for
Yeah.
us.
I think it's like good to mention that we're not a study association. We're just us four, and yeah, for sure we're gonna look for volunteers, like as we did in our Rule of Law festival. So the best what you can do is go to our Instagram, our Rule of Law, and yeah, wait for an announcement and see if will be any ways for you to engage. But as Susanna say, the biggest what you can do is show up and engage and show that actually such events are something that our university community needs. Because if, for example, our event is to some extent successful, it opens the doors for other people to do exactly the same. And, you know, it doesn't have to be us. We would really like to see like more peers get engaged and do their own project. Just like you do your podcast, right? I think it's super cool, and there's a plenty of room for everyone to do their own projects and do something that you truly believe in and you think is important.
I don't know if you mentioned, but do you have volunteers that do you select them, or can anyone just volunteer? Are you kind of in your inner circle of volunteers?
So we try to do it like as open as possible to everyone. We didn't make an announcement yet.
Oh, so
the
it's not yet
volunteers.
open.
It's coming, so
Okay.
that's why
Instagram.
you should keep an eye on our Instagram, because it's for sure not like, you know, inner circles only our besties. It's just we try to make it as open for everyone to have a chance.
Thank you guys for coming. It was really lovely to have you here, and we hope you guys have a very good edition, the best one yet, of your festival. And I don't know, I'll be there. Will you be there?
Yeah, 100%.
Should be
With my
there.
dog, like I said. We'll be there together.
24th of June at the Academy building, most likely. And it's also worth to mention that it's also after the exams, so we thought it through.
Not for us.
So there is no,
yeah, for us.
there is also
We
for
do
you.
have the thesis though.
Oh, but
I'm
not
done.
exams.
I'm done by then. No, but I'm also on the
And-
thesis then.
and
everything.
Also, the event gonna take approximately 2 hours, so it's not like a full day thing, which I think is very good because you don't also have to participate in a full 2 hours. But if you find something that is interesting, you can also participate in one of them.
Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So guys, that was this week's episode. I hope that you really enjoyed. It was really lovely having the 4 girls on for them talking about their experiences. And yeah, we'll link everything in the description below. The link to our second episode on the rule of law crisis in Hungary and Poland with John Morain. We're also gonna be listing when the event is taking place. And yeah, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Duralex Sidlex, and also check out our Rule of Law Instagram page as well to be up to date with all of the announcements that are going to be made in the future for the volunteering and also for the timetable for the event that's taking place in June. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in this week, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.